Lacey. I never see you anymore.
Hello.
Hi.
Oh, oh no.
Yes. This is Kim Tyndall. Can you hear me?
Hi, Kim. We can, yes.
School of Health Sciences instead of Arts and Science.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
Let me
all
fix
right.
that right now.
I mark myself present, but I'm health science, nursing. Thank you.
I apologize. I will fix that right now.
That is fine. Thank you so much.
Thank you for letting me know.
Liz.
Yeah.
This is Faye Donahue. I am in for Kamala Sowers today.
Okay. Could you do me a favor and put your name in the alternate column? Michael, it's in the chat.
It's in the chat. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry. Hold on. And somehow we got an extra column in there. You do one thing to Google Docs and it just like the whole thing gets turned around. There we go. Let's move everything back over. And then we'll get started here in a minute. Yeah, I think it's 9. So is it 9? We'll call the meeting to order. Yeah. We'll call the meeting to order. And
that's one of the guys who I went with Benjamin and Josh. Right. I just him. Yeah. Hey, you're right.
You your mic.
Yeah, it's a little hard to hear that. So I will call the meeting to order, and we'll miss John because he's had a family emergency. And our first guests are the Disability and Neurodiversity Awareness Club, and we welcome them, and we want to hear from what they have to say. And I will. So we're going to talk to. So it's going to be Jill Walker, Julia Murray, Jonathan Ace. I'm not sure who else. Those are the people I have on my list. So we shall, without further ado, we will welcome them. Hi, Jill.
Good morning. I'm going to let Julia and Jonathan talk about the group, introduce themselves and all of that. But I wanted to thank you all for having us today. I have the pleasure of working with the Dana group, and they are they are very passionate, very excited to share what the group does, and then give some suggestions for ways to make Greenville Tech more accessible or accessibility friendly. So I'm going to share my screen, and then Julia and Jonathan, I'm going to kick it off to you.
Okay.
All right, everyone, can you see the PowerPoint?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect.
Yep.
Thank you.
Looks great.
So it's now good. Shouldn't I introduce myself now? Yeah.
Go for it, Julia.
Okay. Hi, I'm Julia Moy. I am at Greenville Tech receiving my Associates of Arts in Journalism. I am the president of disability and neurodiversity awareness. I was very interested in starting this club because I find it incredibly important to have a space full of disabled, neurodiverse people and people who just want to be educated. John?
John, turn on your mic.
All right. Okay. Sorry about that. I
No
wanted
problem.
to mute and then bring. Okay. My name is Jonathan Ace. I am receiving my associate's degree in marketing. Part of the reason why I help and joined Dana to start with is to find a community of like-minded people. And again, that's part of the reason why I came to Greenville Tech, and that's been very beneficial for me, especially as a disabled person who's a little bit older than most of my peers. So being able to find a community here has been really beneficial for me. I am VP this semester. I have been with Dana since the start and have enjoyed every minute of it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Forgive me, I have to. Oh, thank you, Mr. Walker. So as I'm sure some of you may have heard, that not all of the, actually most of the doors on campus do not open all the way when it comes to having a accessibility button. And of course, there's the infamous elevator in 104 that continuously breaks down, and I have had personal experience of being stuck on the third floor and the second floor, and now it feels like every time I go to use the elevator, I get very anxious, and that just should not be a roadblock when it comes to getting to class. Thank you, Mr. Walker. Oh, wait. Okay. I have sadly heard from fellow students that not all professors take the accommodations seriously. Some professors in the stories will face the whiteboard while talking, and this is not beneficial for people that are hearing impaired because they are not getting the entire lesson they need to hear in order to fully participate in the class. I have also heard that videos that are designated for the class don't have subtitles, and fellow students need to jump through extra hoops just to get videos they need with subtitles. Like they would download the video onto the computer to put it through another software to get the subtitles just so they can watch and understand the video. Obviously, these students shouldn't be having to do that work on top of the work they are already doing. all the course materials should be accessible. John, it's your turn.
We have had issues both personally and otherwise of trouble accessing restrooms. I know from personal experience that even though a bathroom says that it's accessible, we have had issues with the restrooms, specifically in 103 and 104. In 104, if you go to the first floor men's bathroom, the accessible restroom, quotes, is not wide enough for people with walkers or wheelchairs to get into. The only truly accessible bathroom in that case is on the second floor. And obviously, getting around to the men's bathroom is a little bit of an issue because of the fact that, um, you know, 104 is a big circle. um, and in 103, and in other parts of campus also, there are cases of double doors. There's one specifically in 103 that is very heavy, and has a double door that creates a vacuum. Um, this means that even if you're able to get through one door, the other door also presents an issue. The issue being that the vacuum there means that no air can get in through the door, which makes it heavier. And the issue there is that if the doors are heavy for disabled people, they're probably heavy for other non-disabled people as well. And in the long run, that means that, people are missing out on class just because they need to use the restroom and they're not being able to do so in a timely manner. This definitely means that restrooms are not designed with accessibility in mind. And as I said, in the long run, that affects everyone, whether they're disabled or not. Next slide, please. There are also the case of uneven sidewalks on school grounds. I personally have a 13-page Google Doc that I will make available for everyone to see, of the marked places where I saw that sidewalks are inaccessible. I understand that Barton campus is not new, but I feel that, with the chance that we're having to build a new building, this would be the time to think about upgrading the sidewalks. Again, just because, the sidewalks are inaccessible to disabled people does not mean they're accessible to non-disabled people. I've had many friends talk about how they've turned their ankles on the uneven sidewalks, and obviously not every one of my friends is disabled. This means that the this means that people are having issues getting to class from point A to point B, and obviously classes are mostly all day, and that creates a bit of an issue for everyone because there are not proper signage on campus, nor is there very good lighting when it comes to um, getting from point A to point B in the dark. Um, I would suggest maybe a golf cart service, or making sure at the very least that when advisors plan for especially disabled people, when advisors plan classes for people, that their accessibility needs are taken into account when scheduling classes. Um, Obviously, things like weather conditions, as I said, night classes, and special circumstances um, play into the lack of accessibility. And as I said, if we have a chance to upgrade our buildings, then we should also have a chance to upgrade campus. I've had many in uh, personal discussion with myself that if I'm having this much of an issue getting around Barton campus, then what are the other two campuses like? Um, this is not specifically calling out one person. I understand that it is a project and something that everyone uh, in the faculty or higher up needs to discuss. But I feel like the if one was to think about it and not just be not just meet requirements, but be proactive instead of reactive toward accessibility, then Greenville Tech would be sorry, Greenville Tech would be a shining light for people with disabilities, and which means more students being able to come to GTC. As I did, luckily, I was given the opportunity to come to GTC and stay on campus. And I have thrived during my time at GTC. So if I can do it, other people can too.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Thank you both so much for sharing that with us. Does anybody have any questions for Dana? That was great. I would, yeah, if hopefully someone has a question, that would be awesome. That was a great presentation.
Thanks.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Matt.
Okay. I like to use a lot of games-based learning and a lot of like simulations in my classroom for sociology. But a lot of the materials, if it's like an online game, they're not always captioned well. They're not always accessible for all types of learners. So what's the best resource to get like a second pair of eyes or someone else to help me think through how to make some of these activities more accessible? Is that something that the club could do? Should I use student disability services? how can I make sure that the things I want to add, and sometimes I'm adding something for the first time, I don't know how it'll work, but to get more help with making interactive experiences in class.
I know that things like YouTube and Google have generated captions, and maybe that is something that you can talk to student disability services about, because I feel like not a lot of people utilize student disability services enough to um, do what they need to do. Um, People need to think about things with disabled people in mind, and I feel like SDS could definitely help with that.
I fully agree. Throughout my time at Tech, I found SDS to be incredibly helpful. I am quite sure they will know ways to help your materials have some subtitles.
Okay. And when I have activities like I ask students to move around the room for them to get out of their seats to build something or to work on a hands-on task. I try and manage it to the students that I'm aware of, but not all disabilities are visible. And I don't know how to approach always asking people, does everyone feel comfortable with, getting out of their seat and building a spaghetti tower, without giving everybody an entire list of all the activities for the whole year.
I mean, from a personal standpoint, a lot of people, if you be completely honest with them and understand that you're coming at things from a helpful point of view instead of um for instance, like people will ask me what happened. There are many different ways to ask what happened to me without, you know, um, without ruffling feathers, so to speak. If a lot of people just enjoy people who come at their disability with honest curiosity. Um, and uh, when it comes to you know, building things, I feel like making sure that in your class, if someone was asked to build something, make sure you can do that from your seat. If someone can't move, I'm not sure exactly how that would work for your class, but um, there are different things that could utilize the same things that you do, that could be more accessible. Making sure also that if someone did have to move, that uh, they didn't have to go far. I know the classrooms aren't always big, so that as Julia was talking about classroom accessibility, that definitely comes into it as well. Um, I would just make sure that there is always room in your class for mobile devices like my walker or wheelchair. Sorry. And just making sure that your classroom is always accessible.
Okay, thank you. I know that's a struggle because we get assigned into rooms, and quite often they're built in ways that are very difficult to navigate, especially if you have mobility assistance. So just something to think about, but thank you. I'll follow up with that.
Yeah, no problem.
May I add on to the classroom's comment for a sec? If you find that one of the rooms are not as accessible for one of your fellow students, you can contact SDS, I believe Jana Bonds and Elaine take responsibility in changing rooms for students that need that.
Mhm.
I raised my hand, but I realize I'm supposed to call on people, so I'll call on myself. Do you guys, what's the most significant problem, like from in, as far as people, as far as being in the classroom that you've experienced, you think, not specific teacher or classroom, but like what's a common or one of the biggest problems that you have encountered?
Personally, I've struggled with where I park my chair. As you know, I just some I can still get up, move around, and go to my seat. But I find that some classrooms are just so tight. It's like, where do I put it? Do I leave it in the hallway? I don't want to do that. So that's one of the issues and the main issue for me, I think. How about you, John?
For me also, it uh building on Julia's issues as well. I've had issues where I don't know where to put my crutches or my walker. Uh Obviously I try to put them as close to me as possible, but there have been times where students have had to move out of the way or um go a different route, which obviously creates an OSHA violation. And I don't want to do that, because one of my worst fears is being stuck in a burning building on the second floor, and I don't want to create a problem for another student. Um, and so again, I think for ambulatory, you know, wheelchair users or walker or crutches users, it may be best, as I told Professor Casasus, to make sure when you get into a classroom with where someone's going to be disabled, it may be smart to scope out where someone can sit or where someone can put their walking device. Yeah.
If
Do you think
you're
if I'm sorry, Julie, go ahead.
with him, if you want to hear from other students of our club, I would be happy to collect email addresses for you so you can ask that question to them as well.
Awesome, thank you. Do you think that it would be beneficial for teachers to like give in classrooms to give a brief, not singling anyone out or talking about anyone specific, but to give to remind the class that there's all different kinds of people and to make sure that they are cognitive of that and respectful of that, and I don't know, make room or something like that? Do you think that like saying something in each class just to make people more aware would be a helpful thing, or is that too
Yes.
invasive?
Honestly, as I told Professor Casasus, if you're coming at something with a genuine curiosity and um, not to uh, don't make a show of yourself, then a lot of people understand that you're just trying to help. Um, so, and the biggest thing that I've seen through a thread that goes through disabled content creation is people, putting their foot in their mouths, but also being not as as I said, genuinely curious as other people. And, at the end of the day, we're just trying to be treated like anyone else. And if someone breaks their foot, there would be a genuine curiosity of, how did you break your foot? How can I help? But, it doesn't always, come to that a lot of times because we're seen as other and just don't see us as other people, you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah, thank you.
Another thing that might be useful to add on to John's thing, perhaps you should talk to them in private. I'm sure you guys were already thinking about asking questions in private and addressing it with Cal, but I just want to say that out loud just in case, because there are also people like me who deal with anxiety and don't like all the attention of the students on them. Ironic, isn't it? I have a wheelchair. So yes, that's my 2 cents.
Do you think when you're out, when you're I mean, from what I've observed, most students are pretty, I mean, they seem very accepting of most things, but has that been your experience or no, maybe I'm wrong.
For the most part, there haven't been any instances of bullying from other students that you may would have seen in grade school. I think that's something that our parents had an issue with uh, when it comes to coming to college. I know mine did. And for the most part, as I said, people want to help. They don't always know the best way to help. But you know, everybody needs help once in a while. So, you know.
True.
I haven't dealt with bullying or anything of the sort, but I have received some curious questions like John was talking about earlier. And even though like that might be invasive, I still know some students are just truly curious and not saying it rudely. Like, so how did it happen? Like, how did you end up like this? Like, I've just had some curious questions approached with Cal and nothing else, thankfully.
Good. Because I know I'm going to say one more thing. I'm going to shut up. But because I know that sometimes, do you think it would be helpful to have signs on the elevators that say if there's, if because I know that there have been problems, as you know, that with some students not moving, like not letting people into the elevator with the wheelchair, just waiting, just standing there.
Would
Yes.
you like to share that story of when I was in your children's lit class and like I couldn't get to it because I was on
Yeah.
the second floor? Do you want to share that with everyone?
Sure. Just Julia was very upset one time because, and many, not one time, but it happened to her a number of times where she would try to get down. I think you were getting down to the first floor, weren't you, from the second floor? And
Yes.
then people just stood in the elevator and wouldn't let her on and waited till the door closed and she couldn't get on. And so when I walked her, I went with her quite a few times so that, and I just said everybody out, but that elevator is not big enough they would look at me like, really? And I'm like, everybody out, right now. And so then we'd go down and Julia, she's so wonderfully accepting of everything. And she was very, she, we worked it out, but it's still it's still a problem, I think. And I'm wondering about signage on the elevator about, something saying that, just like give the first seat on the bus to somebody who needs to sit down or something like that, right? Because for some reason there are people who don't do that, and I was appalled, that was happening to her. But I don't
Right.
know. What do you think about that?
Yes, I believe there should definitely be signage. And on the topic of signage, obviously going back to our campus accessibility, um, there isn't a lot of well, I'll go back a little bit and say that uh I have in the meantime, since doing that massive Google Doc, um found shortcuts that help me get from point A to point B a little bit easier. However, there isn't a lot of signage on campus to um, tell us where, like, how you can use a shortcut from A to B either. So that would be extremely beneficial as well.
Along with signage outside of the elevator, not everyone is going to read it, so I believe it wouldn't be helpful if there was signage inside the elevator, because
Right.
technically there is a sign on the second floor, but only the second floor. So not everyone is seeing it, or if they are aware of a piece of paper being there, not everyone is reading it still.
Right.
So I think inside the elevator would help even more.
Right.
For all the elevators across campus, but especially that one, since it's so tiny. How was an elevator like that even allowed? I don't know.
I think personally that it may be time to upgrade that elevator. I know that that's a very old building, and um, if finding a different elevator may be an issue. However, that elevator is, I'm pretty sure that elevator is a safety hazard. And there has not been one day that I have not gone in that elevator and been a little afraid that it's going to stop. Um, and obviously that creates an issue. So it tells you that with the remodeling and new things going up on campus, that maybe it may be time to um help other places as well. I understand that that's a project and money is a requirement there, but for the long haul, I think it would be very beneficial.
I would also like to add the fact that short teachers and SDS will happily move classes, but it's not only classes in that building that makes students need to use the elevator. It's also tutoring and clubs and advisors. There's so many reasons why we would have to use that elevator.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. Does anybody else have any questions for them? I'm sorry, go ahead, Julia.
Office hours to meet with a professor. That's another reason why we have to use it.
Mhm.
That's it.
Dr. Miller has a question.
Well, first a comment, Julia and Jonathan, you guys have been incredible speakers, and I've been really impressed with both of your remarks. Super thoughtful, well delivered. I wish I was as effective a public speaker as you two are. So congratulations, and to our speech department as well. If you guys took speech, clearly we're doing something special there too. So first, I want to start out by saying thank you for that, and also for being here today and speaking with Faculty Senate. I have the pleasure of serving as being the vice president here of the college over learning and workforce development programs. So I've been taking notes and very engaged with the comments you've made. I have one question for you, and there's some good questions going on in the chat. I think Art stole one of my questions, which was about online access. But I think, you know, we have a great group of colleagues here working really hard to try to meet the needs of all of our students. And sometimes we get it right, and sometimes there's room for improvement. And we've heard some of both today from your remarks. My question for you is this. How often do you guys meet as a group? And would you be willing to accept teams to come and attend your meetings on an invitation basis, prearranged, so that, you know, potentially like our online learning team, or we have a project about to start with signage and wayfinding, and I would love to have that team come and meet with you guys for a half an hour and maybe share some of the plans and gain feedback. Is that something that is in the scope of your club's activities? I don't want to crowd out, you know, what you're already doing, and we can certainly have a conversation offline. But I wanted to put that question out there to you.
When
That
it
would
comes,
go ahead,
sorry.
Julia.
When it comes to scheduling meetings, we have to communicate with Dr. Dennis, the new club, the new campus life director. But we usually meet every month, and yes, I believe we will be open to inviting groups that want to educate themselves and talk to us. John, what were you gonna say?
I was just going to echo that and say that Dana has been very helpful to a good number of disabled people on campus, not only because it gives us a chance to speak on just hang out and chill together, but also because it gives us a platform to be informative to the people who follow us on social media and other things as well. That's something that I take a lot of pride in. So yes, that is something we've discussed internally about our issues, is having someone come in and give us a chance to explain why this accessibility is needed. So yeah, we would love to invite people as much as possible, honestly. It'd be great. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Miller.
Well, my pleasure, and I'll just put my email address in the chat if you guys wouldn't mind reaching out to me on the best person to communicate with to schedule that. So that's popping in there now. And I want to make you aware we have a town hall, myself and Dr. Knowles, who's Vice President of Student Services. That's the Tuesday we come back from Labor Day. That starts at 9 a.m. in the Student Success Center. So if you guys are available, not in class, please join us. I'll be bringing donuts. I'd love to meet you in person. And again, thank you for speaking today. I really appreciate it.
Oh, when is that?
9 o'clock on, so that's the 5th, September 5th, the day after Labor Day in the Student Success Center. Yes.
Okay.
Hope you can be there.
Yeah, sounds good.
Liz, did you see any other are there other questions? We had some suggestions for places to get resources to help make classes more accessible. I think that's something maybe we could circle back to when we get to the subcommittee meetings, because something we were going to talk about is the possibility of doing some professional development training, offering that through the usual channels, so that instructor, it's one thing to get links to places. I don't know about y'all, but I have the best of intentions and I write these links down and these places to go. And then I need a little more organization personally. So something we were going to bring up is the idea of having some PD. So maybe we can circle back to those suggestions when we get to that. But there's a bunch, or at least a couple of really good ones in the chat from Michelle Rubino from the library and from Tara Weeks. So
Okay. If I may add also that if anyone needs specific examples of teachers not following 80 or SDS guidelines for students, I know personally that I've had issues with teachers not giving enough testing time. I know that both me and Julia have had issues with well, I wouldn't say issues, but we both have it in our accommodations that we get extra time on tests. That has not always been the case for me personally. I can't speak to anyone that Julia may have spoken with, but I know from a personal experience that that has happened to me.
To add on to John's testing comment, I a few times now have had teachers not understand that I have a in-person proctor, which sounds so silly, but some of these professors will say you still need the lockdown browser, and I'm like, I have an in-person proctor who reads me the questions, then I answer it. It's like I don't need both. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. Thanks. Well, that's again, it sounds like we definitely need more professional development in terms of how the SDS system works and the accessibility forms and how to honor those and our obligations in terms of those forms. So we will make that top of the list.
Yeah.
And I want to, I'm sorry, go ahead, Jonathan.
I just want to thank everyone for their time. I know it's a kind of run over, but I just want to thank everyone for their time and thank you for being so receptive to some of the things we've talked about. It's really important for us, and I'm really thankful.
Jonathan, if you could email me, can you share that document with me,
Yes.
the 23, however many page document?
Yeah.
I'd love to
No
see
problem.
it. Okay. And I was just wondering if Jill wanted to say anything at the end here.
Hi, Mimi. Yeah, first of all, Julia and Jonathan, so proud of you both. I get to see you all and talk to you all very frequently, so I know how amazing you are, but I'm glad we got to share this with the group. I think just for me, a takeaway is that Greenville Tech, with all of the changes happening on campus, we don't want to just kind of meet the bare minimum of ADA compliance and accessibility, but let's be leaders in it. Let's be at the forefront. Let's be known for providing an environment where we do the right things and we do the things that are going to make this a great experience for all students, not just for students that don't need the assistance. So thank you for having us. I think that this is a really great environment to start some conversation around this topic. So thank you so much, Liz and Mimi, for inviting us. And you did great, guys. I'm proud of you.
Yeah, thank
you guys.
Yeah.
Anything else anybody wants to add to that or questions? Well, I'll make sure that the slides from today's presentation go out in the minutes and Jonathan's Google Doc and all of the resources as well.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you both so much. Fantastic job.
All right. Have a good day.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you, guys.
Have a great weekend.
Yes, have a
Bye.
great
Thank
weekend.
you so much.
Thanks. Bye. Talk to you soon.
Contact me if you have any more questions. Okay. Yeah.
Definitely. All right. Thank you so much. So I'm going to ask, we have Michelle Rubino's listed at the end under new business, but I'm going to ask her to speak now. If that's okay, Michelle. I think you can go
Sure.
second. Great, thank you.
Sure, that's fine. Thank you all. So 2018 to 2019, I worked with a committee on Faculty Senate to create the Faculty Resource Guide, and I will paste yet another link in the chat. So this guide is very helpful because it expedites information finding. So we get these questions about withdrawal dates or financial aid, or if we have personal travel questions and we have to look GTC for me on the website in an email. And this guide was created to have a centralized location for all of that. And it's wonderful. And we're a couple years out now, and some of the links need to be corrected. So we do semester by semester and also a yearly check for any broken links. But because of the significant collection of content in this guide, I'm wondering if there could be either a standing Faculty Senate committee, or it could go under the auspices of one of the officers to then have a committee under that officer to perhaps do a yearly survey of the links in this guide to see what needs to be updated. Just this past week, a faculty member emailed Natasha Spearman asking for something to be corrected on the guide, and Natasha had no idea that this page existed at all, so emailed me very confused. And again, this can all be managed, but I just wanted to start a conversation with you all this morning to see how we could manage this resource that is wonderful, and we want it to continue to being so.
Can I ask you a question? Is this the same? I was trying to look at it yesterday, but is this the same as the adjuncts faculty guide, or are they put together now? I worked on the adjunct one, but I don't know.
Let me check if there's an adjunct.
Because that was a big project, and it would have been good for everybody. It didn't just need to be adjuncts, but I'm not sure if it's the same thing that's now evolved or what.
No, I think wasn't that an adjunct like handbook, whereas this is
but
like
I thought it was. Oh, okay. So that was that was.
This is just for all, honestly, faculty or staff.
All right. Do you want us to like get, I can collect names of people who might want to be on that committee. If you want me to do that, I would totally do that. I would do the committee. Sure. And I can ask people if they'd like to be on that committee, or what do you want me to do to try to, would that be good, or is there more?
That'll work. We need to have a standing committee so that, when folks roll off of Faculty Senate, then more folks can roll onto this committee and continue, keeping the information on the guide current.
If you is there a way you could make just a short document that says like the duties of it, the things that people would need to do, like they're going to be on a standing committee, what needs to be done every year, and how often do you think, stuff like that?
Sure,
maybe.
Will do. I will.
Yeah. Then I can then because I know some people are like, well, how much work is it? And I have these other committees, but if they know exactly what it is, I think I know pretty much what it is, but I might not. So sure. Something like that.
Sure, I'll draft something, and then if we need to tweak it, we can tweak it.
Cool.
Michelle, I'm sorry, I have a quick question. Is there going to be, do you see that there's going to be a huge need of transitioning and changes with moving from some of the links from Resources for Me into SharePoint? Not really. And I don't know how many links are going to read. I know that there was some links like the reinstatement form that sometimes I struggle getting with, but I don't mind serving on that and helping out with making sure the links are still working. So Mimi, you can add me to that, because I use it quite frequently. So I might be one of those that sends the request, but we still have, I will say, on the page that it opens to, that it has the notation that if you find something that needs updating, there's the link there on how to do that. So I appreciate that.
Sure. I mean, I use it myself. It's very useful and it's searchable, which is fantastic. So we just want to make sure everything's current. But I don't think there will be a huge issue. And perhaps the first go round we might need to clean up quite a few links, but afterward I think it'll be fairly stable.
Do we have, so what am I trying to say? The CMS editor, do we go through a process like that for it?
No.
Okay,
This is an entirely different this is an entirely different system. It's SpringShare. It's what all of our research guides are based off of, and it's wonderfully user-friendly. You open up the text you want to change, you change the text, you click save, and it's done. It's like a Word doc, just
like that
on the web.
Okay, good. So I will get something out there. Does anybody else want to tell me that they want to join this committee now?
Mimi, there are some in the chat too.
Oh, there are. Okay. I'll check back for that. I went ahead and wrote it in the minutes. You did? Okay. Okay, good. All right. Anybody else want to add to that or ask a question to Michelle? All right. Well, okay, we'll get on that then, Michelle. Thank you very much.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much.
All right. So next we'll talk about examples of service excellence. Does anybody have an example of service excellence? Someone who's doing a great job at the college or did something spectacular for you or that you've seen happening around you? We'd love to hear that information.
I'd like to just show recognition and just give a shout out to Jill Walker for always just being who she is and always being willing to help. She always goes above and beyond, and she always makes my job easier. And she's always willing to help. We have her personal cell phone number, and I just always every time we do the service excellence, I say I'm gonna recognize Jill, and I never do. So now I'm gonna make sure that I do that because I just really appreciate everything that she's always done from the very beginning. So I just wanted to say that. Great choice. That's all. Yeah, I agree. Chris.
I would like to recognize, two people/groups. Okay, so the group would be the call center. They have been averaging, I don't even remember. At some points, it was, I think, close to 1,000 calls a day, I believe, if I understood correctly. They have done a fantastic job. Matter of fact, they had one new employee just hired, I think it was 2 weeks ago, right in the storm of everything. So that group in general. And then secondly, Kerry Peterson in the business office. I don't know if you guys know or not, but he did a fantastic job on lowering our purge numbers. He has really attempted to work with students. So if they weren't able to come up with the 20%, he's been talking with them, meeting with them to see if there was anything he could do to keep them from being purged. And I think at one point, one of the weeks we had 1,000, 1,200 students that were going to be purged, and he got it down to like 550 or something. So they have really done a wonderful job this year or this fall.
Nice. Thank you. Kim.
I put one in the chat for Victoria Queen. Tori, she's in nursing and she has been a great help to me this past semester with helping me create instructions and lab activities for a new course that I'm in.
Right. Thank you. Is there anybody else that I missed? All right. Okay. Thank you very much. John has put together the president's report, and basically most of it we're talking about who the guest speakers were and service excellence. And then he gives us, let's see, he says at the okay, but I'll talk. So this is about the academic misconduct policy. I guess I'll talk about that now because the rest of the president's report really contains the success check summaries, and we can look at that anytime. We know that it's once how often is that? Every week, right? Are the success checks every week? Okay, I think they are. So we can look at those, but he attended those, so I can't really add that much to those things. But then let's talk about the committee reports, and we'll talk about the AI committee. So we met academic misconduct AI committee. I guess it's the same thing now. And we are working on the process for reporting. The process for reporting instances of academic misconduct, including AI usage. We're streamlining. Nathan Sasser has written this process, and we are working on that he's working on that and streamlining that. Is he here? I don't think he's here. All right. And then we're also working on, well, as we voted on it last time, we voted on the changes to the faculty handbook and the changes to the academic misconduct, or what's it called, the academic misconduct form. And we got AI language put into both of those places. So that was good. Also, let's see. Oh, so we have a huge number of statements from different colleges for course policies, and we're going to make a document. We're working on it. We're starting to work on it, even though it's the beginning of the semester. We haven't totally come up with it yet, but we have a lot of choices of academic policy. So when we gather those together, we will make them available if people want to have AI policies for their classroom that are different than the one that I use or the one that Liz uses or whomever. There's depending on the types of classes they are. Also, let's see. We're also working on the kind of college-wide statement to be put probably in I would say, Blackboard shells. And then also, so Nathan and I gave a presentation at the Arts and Sciences meeting, which gave general information about AI, showed a couple of AI documents from students, and offered a classroom policy form for them to pledge for students to sign, which I've been using, and a lot of people in the English department have been using in other departments. If anyone would like that PowerPoint, it's like 5 slides or something. And if you'd like to present it to your department or anything like that, or take parts of it, just let me know. So that's that. We'll be meeting, I don't know, in a week or two or something like that. Anyone else want to add anything to that? Who's on that committee that I forgot, like Tammy or anyone? Is that it? Okay,
I think you covered it.
Did I cover it? Okay, thank you, Tammy. In my muddled way. All right. How about the adjunct support committee?
We are going to be scheduling our first meeting for the fall in this month, September. Today's the first, right? So,
yeah.
We didn't meet last month, and so now we're going to be looking at meeting this month. So hopefully next month we'll have an update for you.
Great, thank you very much. The safety committee. Catherine?
Sorry, can you hear me? Okay. Yeah. I just reached out to everybody this week, and hopefully we're going to start meeting and trying to regroup. We had a great presentation a couple of meetings ago, and so we need to follow up and get some reports.
Right, that's great. And I would add to that they have been working on it. I mean, we had Jackie DiMaggio talk about campus safety. We had Chief Brooks talk about campus safety. So we're keeping up with what the school is doing, but I think we need to keep following up with that just to make sure we're that what was told would happen does happen, and that all the changes are positive, and also to keep that committee together to identify any new problems or ideas that we come up with around campus safety. All right. Anyone else want to talk about campus safety? Any complaints? No one would complain about that. All right. How about course inclusivity and accessibility?
Okay, well, obviously we've been working over the summer to work closely with Dana and get this presentation for today in front of y'all. And we actually met this month with Jana Barnes from the Student Disability Services to ask some questions about how issues with accessibility are being reported, like what the reporting system is and how they're followed up on. It was very illuminating. Turns out that there is a place to report issues with accessibility, barriers to accessibility, and it's on the Greenville Tech website. The link goes to a dynamic form, but the dynamic form wasn't going anywhere to anyone. But so it was a lot of shouting into the void. But Jana said that the explanation was a little bit unclear as to what was going on there, but she said she has officially become the recipient of those accessibility reporting forms now. They will go directly to her email, and so she will be the one to respond to them personally. So that was really encouraging to hear that that issue is being dealt with. We also brought up some of the ideas that Dana had for accessibility, such as the golf cart transportation system, which we were really excited about. But she said that's actually been looked into before, and the problem was that the insurance for that was just so exponentially massive that it's kind of a non-starter. But hopefully we can have some other conversations about ways to improve the issues that students have been having with the uneven sidewalks and things like that. And it sounds like Dr. Miller's excited to work closely with Dana on these things. So that's great. And to circle back to the idea about some PD, it sounds like there's a lot of need for that. I know that when I was an adjunct and I was encountering issues with students and accessibility and things like that, I really didn't understand how the process worked and what it was that I was obligated to do but more importantly, what I was not allowed to do to accommodate students. And I know Sharon Bellwood used to run those workshops, and they were immensely helpful. And it's been a really long time since we've had anything like that. So Jana, when we talked to Jana, we asked her about doing something like that. She said we'd need to reach out to Brett Gaffney to get approval for that. So I said, okay, well, maybe if we bring this to the Senate and we get, sense of like support from them, then maybe Brett Gaffney would be more likely to greenlight something like that. And of course we can talk to Rachel Cobb, who's in charge of all things PD, and see what we can get going with that too. So if that sounds like something that you think would be, that y'all in the Senate think would be a good use of our time, our PD hours, we're open to suggestions on what you'd like to see, what you'd like to have from those PD workshops, so that we can come up with a good curriculum for that. It sounds like things like closed captioning are really important. Just understanding the accommodation form process, what the obligations are, all that. Did anybody have any other suggestions for things that we could really use some PD on from the SDS office?
Maybe kind of what I was saying before, a general way to talk about it in general in classrooms to students.
Okay.
Maybe something like that.
Okay, so how to handle
not necessarily to point, just like maybe something to say to students about being, I don't know, aware, cognizant, and helpful to everyone. And I'm not sure. I'm not. I'd have to start writing. I'm better at that than
so maybe something like how to create a more inclusive environment of disabilities.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any others while we're
all right?
Open to suggestions? Okay, so Art says, we got a comment from Philip too. Training is often reactive, not proactive. Yeah, definitely. And we certainly want to be more proactive about it. And then Art says accessibility request process for employees. Okay. Actually, that's something that Ashlyn, while we're on that subject, Ashlyn and I had chatted about. Ashlyn, if you want to unmute yourself and talk about an idea you had for this subcommittee, that sounds like now would be a great time to do that.
Yeah, so being someone who is neurodivergent myself and being a new faculty, and I've experienced there have just been times where I haven't been able to function at my best, or I haven't known what resources are out there for me. And I can't be the only faculty member that has experienced that. And so just finding out what those kind of things are, and if there's not a whole lot of support for faculty, because when faculty are more supported, then they can better support their students and better support their fellow faculty as well.
Christopher Walken has a question. It's Philip.
Philip's got the suggestion that department chairs should be notified when adjuncts get accessibility accommodation forms because they simply don't know how to handle it. Agreed. That's something we could...
Sorry, I having a hard time with my mic. I think with some of these, other than it's impossible to train everything on everyone to everything, and stuff moves so fast at the college with learning systems. But what I have seen is a good example is accessibility forms. They're sent to teachers that are teaching a class, but they may be adjuncts, they may not be the course leads. They don't always know what to do. So sometimes getting copies of that, I could at least reach out and assist, and then that's a training moment. So sometimes it doesn't have to be formal training, but there's a little too much siloing when it comes to this, and we sometimes just don't know when a student has an issue till afterwards.
Yeah,
thank you.
sure.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Can we circle back just though to what Ashley was talking about in terms of what we could offer for faculty in terms of making sure that their work environment is more accessible? Any suggestions for how to approach that? Or is that something that we need to go, I don't want to say HR, but I'm trying to think about how we could approach that particular arm of our mission overall.
Well, maybe we can muddle over that for a little bit and come back with some more.
We can put it on the agenda for to talk about at our next subcommittee meeting and bring y'all some ideas.
Yes. Okay.
And we're in the meantime, though, we'd love ideas in terms of what kind of professional development we could request that the SDS offer. So just be thinking about that, and feel free to email me directly. I'll go ahead and put my email in the chat, and we'll start talking with Brett Gaffney and Rachel Cobb and Jana and try to get something off the ground, hopefully for spring. But in the meantime, we are taking suggestions.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
So I want to go back one quick time too about the AI thing, and that is that we wanted to have some professional development. That's my next thing, is to talk to Rachel Cobb about having, PD sessions about informative and, offering suggestions, maybe, I don't know, group. I'm not sure which type, but I would be willing to do one. And if anybody else would be interested in doing a professional development with me or without me about AI, that would be great. Just email me or let me know if you're interested in that, because I think we need some more information and out there for all faculty. Not everybody is trying to stay with it, because to see what's happening next, because it's constantly evolving. But that's because they actually have to work and teach classes, things like that. And so sometimes that stuff falls by the wayside. And I think that in general, the AI topic we have been trying to keep up with it as much as possible. And we are not behind most schools, just from the reading and research that I've done, Tammy's done, lots of other people on the committee, and we understand that we're trying to keep on top of it. So that's very good. All right, so I'm going to go to, unless anyone else wants to say anything about that. All right, I'm going to go to old business, and we have that Dr. Miller approved the revision of the academic misconduct process. No, he didn't exactly do that. That's actually not, I'm reading off this paper. He likes it, but we have to work on it a little bit more. It's a little bit, as far as people being on a committee to review the academic misconduct complaints or whatever, how will they get money? So we were talking about getting a course release for 2 or 3 people, and then also, but it would be better, he said, to get a stipend, and that hasn't been settled on. It hasn't been completely and it hasn't been, it's being considered. I would say it's not completely approved because it isn't in place yet. So we're trying to get that in place. And that is the academic misconduct, the process of when someone has a complaint, and who takes care of that, looks into it, investigates it, et cetera, et cetera. So there's that sort of in the works. And then also it says Dr. Miller approved the proposal for an authorization form for students who are seeking recommendations from faculty and staff. If you remember that was from Dr. Brewster, and he, this is about if you're going to write a recommendation for a student, it wouldn't be mandatory, but it's a form, an authorization form. And he liked the idea, but we also have some more suggestions. I'm not sure, Dr. Brewster, Reggie, are you here? You were here. Is there anything you want to say about that? Where are you? Is he here, Liz?
I'm here.
Oh, hey. Do you want to say anything else about that?
I sent you, perhaps, I think it was yesterday, the additions that were suggested, and I put them in there. So I guess faculty senate will send it to Dr. Miller again, and they can approve it. One of the questions was that when students revoked the recommendation, to whom should they send the recommendation? I didn't know for sure who that person or who that department was, but I think it would probably be student records. So that's what I put down on it. So when they look at it again, they can tell me otherwise.
So what do you mean? So if they decide they don't want the recommendation?
Correct.
Yeah,
correct.
Okay. Well then, okay. Then don't take it. No, but I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying.
Of course, this is a point of protecting us, because if the recommendation is sent out and then the student thinks otherwise and then sends in this cancellation of, we have to be protected. We've already sent something out.
Right. And because a lot of recommendations they don't see the recommendation, obviously.
Correct. And I also added a time limit, that the date that they put down on the recommendation form, a year from that date, the recommendation is, the recommendation is no longer valid a year from that day. So they don't have to necessarily come in and revoke. That's just a time limit on how much or when they could use that recommendation.
Right.
So it's not forever. It's not forever. So if you need a recommendation and it's 5 years from that first one that you have to fill out that form again.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Sounds like that's coming along. So we will get that back to him. All right. So is there any other new business that someone would like to bring up, talk about, put before the Senate? Love to hear from you. Any other ideas, questions, recitations? All right. Well, we're a little early, but we got so much good information today. That's wonderful. I will Liz, it's not, I don't remember it's not on this faculty senate meeting agenda, who is coming next time. Do you know who is coming? I can't remember.
I know we're going to have a brief presentation from Student Disability Services about the Buddy program.
Oh, yeah.
That they're going to be doing. Not to spoil what that is, but basically the idea is that students who are neurodivergent, who might need peer support, can apply for support from another Greenville Tech student who's also a part of the program. Anyway, I don't want to spoil it, but they're going to come and talk to us about it and ways that we can promote the program to our students. That is all I know for October.
Okay, I got to review my notes and talk to John. So we will get that information out to you as to who's coming next time. I hope everybody keeps up with their committees. And oh, I forgot the remote work committee. That's John's bailiwick. So I don't think he's met. And what that has to do with is it's complicated, but it's like for faculty to be able to work sometimes entirely online with maybe a reduction in pay was his idea. If they want to do that, they don't have to do that. Something like that. So some people will go, oh no, we shouldn't do that or something. And we know that if you have a problem, a medical problem or other, that you can go to online. There are accommodations for that, I guess. But this is something a little different. It's a little bit of a different idea from him, I think. And we'll get back to you about that. I'm not sure where he is with that since he's not here, but that's what that is about. So anything else anybody would like to add? Nathan, were you here the whole time?
No, I just got here from another meeting.
I didn't think so. I was just wondering, but it was very interesting earlier on the visitors we had, and I didn't know if you wanted to say anything else about the process for the academic misconduct, when people have a complaint and then what that process is. Is there anything else that you want to add to that? I talked about it a little bit, about making a few changes to that.
I'm not sure if I would know what to add since I missed the previous discussion.
Okay, all right. I just said that we were working on it. I also talked about how we presented to the arts and sciences, but that we're working on that process, streamlining it and finding out how to get people compensated who want to be on that committee. And I think Tammy was also saying about that, just one more thing, is that because we were just trying to decide who should be on the committee, like what schools should every school be, but we were talking about it mostly being English teachers actually, and then working with other departments on, to understand what the complaint is if we don't understand it. But since it's mostly writing that we'd be dealing with, then that's probably a reason to have at least people who teach, writing or do a lot of writing in their courses to be on that committee. However, we're open and we're still working on that.
Yeah, I'll just follow up briefly on that. I'll keep this really, really quick. So I would say anybody who wants to would be welcome to, but I think you and I, Mimi, were worried that we don't want it to be just arts and sciences, but Tammy, who's not arts and sciences, was saying that's cool because you people deal with writing a lot. Nobody's like territorial about that, and we can help you if you need subject specific knowledge. So I would say anybody who's willing would be great. If we have too many, that's a totally different problem. And yet, I think Dr. Miller was saying stipends are cheaper than course releases. So if that will incentivize people and that will be sufficient, then that's great. I say, yeah, that's great. And who knows if the actual load is going to be as heavy as I was fearing, or if it has been so far. I don't know. I mean, it's all kind of unpredictable. In the meantime, even in the absence of kind of a totally new process, of a totally new streamlined process already, I think it's helpful for anyone to know that already you don't have to have a smoking gun document that was plagiarized in order to sustain a charge of academic misconduct. Probabilistic evidence will count upon appeal if it's strong enough. So it's preponderance of evidence is already the standard you're working with. Some people don't want to bring the misconduct charge because they think it won't be sustained upon review. That's not the case. Also, if you can't get the required signatures of like student plus third-party witness, it can still submit that thing, that they will still process and review it. So, you know, even just knowing those might make you makes that process a little bit easier for anyone who is thinking about following up on an academic misconduct charge connected with AI. Thanks
Exactly.
for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Exactly. Thank you. Anybody like to comment on that? Or so we're in process of organizing that. All right. So it's a little early, like I said, but we got a lot of good information. If anyone would like to add anything, now is the time to do it, because I'm going to adjourn in a second here. Anybody else? All right. Well, I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. We'll get back to you on the guest for next time, the speaker. And if you have any ideas for speakers and you have something you think, someone you think would be wonderful to come and talk to Faculty Senate, please let Liz, John, or I know, or all of us. And we will look forward to seeing you next month. So have a good weekend, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.